today. We're brought to you by Senol. If you're listening for the first time, it's the Paco Val Club Show here on FNR Football Nation Radio, and every week we bring in all the big guns, and there's no bigger than Senior Head Coach David Chicken, Assistant Paul Harris. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Good day, Nick. Thanks for having us, yeah.
I mean, been an exciting week in Paco Val, especially around the senior club at the moment. You're on fire in the league, FFA Cup as well. I guess take us through the past week for you guys.
Been a busy week, I think.
Yeah,
a lot of planning, a lot of hard work. But again, when it doesn't feel like hard work when you win, you had a good week. So we talked about the start of the week, 3 games, 7 days, how we'd feel if we won all 3, what our goals were for the week, and we sort of knocked them off one by one, which was great. The players were fantastic, the staff were fantastic. So what more can you want?
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, down against Bulleen 1-0 early, and then an amazing finish in the last 10 minutes, 2 goals in the space for a few minutes, and you're coming away with a win. I guess that must have been quite exciting, bit of a wave of, I guess, emotions throughout that game.
Yeah, we struggled against Bulleen in the second game of the season. We went to their place and we didn't perform well. We've always referenced that as probably our worst performance of the season.
Yeah.
And I think the players are sick of me reminding them of that. So they've been reminded of that a lot. And it was a nice opportunity to right that wrong and going one down after how we played there. You start to think, is this going to be our day? But look, the boys are great. The work rate was fantastic and got ourselves back in the game. So
yeah. Nice. How'd you see it, Paul?
I just thought it was, as Chicky said, it was our worst performance probably collectively that we've put in this year. So a little bit of redemption in a way, and I think it was just nice on the back of having 3 games in 8 days, which is a little bit unique over here, to play that number of games. It was terrific. The boys responded, and I think to come out, if you said at the start of the week we'd won 3 games, then I think everybody would have been delighted. And I think we've got a similar scenario coming up next week when we've got a cup game, the League Cup midweek and so forth. And long may it continue. Really.
So how do you best manage that, I guess, in terms of squad management, training loads, I guess, for those that don't know and want to sort of get a bit of a gauge, how did you guys do it? Was there rotation, less training, more sort of focus on recovery, getting the boys right? I guess take us through it.
So obviously we know it's coming, so you start planning a couple of weeks in advance. We've got some really good people in that. Dean Philopoulos helps us with that type of stuff. We've got a young lad called Nick Cunningham who do their best to look after the players along with the physio, Joe. It's really about just keeping the players physically fresh, keeping them hungry, keeping them ready to go. You sometimes have to adjust your tactical stuff with video analysis, which Dan Quinn does a great job with us, and some whiteboard-based stuff just to change it up a little bit. Can we meet our objectives but necessarily not being on legs? So the loads for the week are similar. It's just you're doing different things. And as a player in England, it was use. You did 3 times a week a lot.
Yeah.
I quite liked it because playing for me was more fun than training.
Yeah.
It's just adjusting. And as long as you plan it right, the players can do it. I think they quite like the games. They enjoy, playing more than they do probably training.
Yeah.
Us make them run around in the cold. So, yeah, it is planning. If you get it right, it's doable. And I think, we got it right. We had a little bit of a freshen up. We gave them some time off because we could see mentally as well as physically a little bit fatigued. We're hoping to take that formula now into the next week.
I mean, does it help when you get that momentum? You get those wins, and then you feel like even if there is a little bit of fatigue, you've got that extra bit of adrenaline and momentum, knowing that you guys have the quality and the momentum to take it through because the confidence is high.
Well, I think it's it's results driven. Whatever you look at, really, and I think you can see it in the attitude of the lads. If the boys are behind you and they're getting results, and they show a positive attitude, and they buy into what you're trying to achieve or what Chicky's trying to do and all the background stuff, it makes without results, people start to question. So it's just a question of just maintaining that momentum and how long may it continue, or at least may it continue for another 2 or 3 months.
Yeah, and I mean, a bit of a slower start to the season, but now really, really solid run of form, putting you guys right in the mix now for promotion. Do you feel as if now you're starting to get really close to what's hitting your straps? You've had the COVID break, you've come back and you haven't lost that momentum. That must give you a lot of confidence.
Yeah, I think we were always playing well. We probably just were a little bit unlucky in some of the results. We had a couple of send-offs early. We probably weren't converting the chances that we creating. So I think there was a confidence that, hey, look, we're doing well, and we will get what you deserve in the end of the day anyway. We just needed to sort of be a little bit more clinical, be a little bit more ruthless, not let the game pass us by in stages. So if we put those little extra finishing touches, we always thought we could do well. And I think the playing group sort of thought that too. I don't think anyone ever lost any confidence in what we were doing. But like Harold says, it's performance-based, it's result-based. We had a couple of losses in the first three, and you question it, you go, are we as good as I think we are or not? But the playing group believed in it, and the performances probably we've just tidied up in areas that we needed to do to win games, the little 1%ers.
Yeah, have you seen it as well, Paul? Have you seen that sort of similar viewpoint to David?
Yeah, look, again, I thought we were a little bit unlucky with the start of the season. But again, you felt that the quality of the side was there. But it's a very, very tight league, and there's not a lot between it. If you're only 70-80% on your game, you're going to get beaten in this league. Everybody beats each other 1-0 or 2-1. You've seen Manningham now improve. North Geelong, very, very difficult game. Brunswick Zebras haven't hit the straps yet, you don't feel, and yet there's about a cluster of about 4 or 6 sides that are around the top. And as I say, if you can either put together a run of 3 or 4 games together and get those points, or it's very, very easy to lose 2 or 3 games in a row. So it's a very, very tight league. And as I say, I know it sounds cliched, but the bottom club can beat the top club. It's as simple as that.
Well, it's sort of a good thing, keeps you guys on your toes. No easy game. And, in that game against Bulleen, Bulleen have had a difficult season. It's sort of been capped off today with the news about John being moved on. And in that, obviously, you were down 1-0. What was sort of the alterations that you did that sort of got you guys back into the game? Was it sticking to the process? Did you change anything at sort of half-time that allowed for you guys to get back into the game?
Look, first of all, just for Bulleen, we always thought they were a very competitive team. I don't think they've been beaten quite heavily by anybody. Every game we've seen them, and we've watched quite a few on the Monday nights, that they're right in it, and they've got some good players. So they'll probably feel that they've been a bit unlucky. And like Harold said, they're the type of team, if you're not right on it, you can drop points to it. We were a prime example of that in the second game. I think for us, it was, again, being patient, not forcing things when we'd gone one behind, not panicking that we'd gone one behind. We felt like the goal was against run of play. Great little play out from them, cross-field ball, great cross, great finish. Outside that, we didn't feel they'd had too many chances, and we'd had quite a few half chances. So it felt like it was coming. It was more just stay calm, don't change what we're doing, keep doing the right things, keep getting forward when we can. And that was pretty much the message, just to stick to what we're doing. There wasn't too much to change, really.
Yeah, and having Big Attila Offley up top must give you that bit of extra confidence. His form this season, I think now 9 goals or something like that. He's having an amazing season. I guess, he bailed you guys out with 2 late goals again. Yeah,
look, he's a piece of the puzzle. He's unique in a way where he's an amazing finisher. If you watch him play, he can finish from distance, in behind. That's one of his great strengths, and he's shown that in times this season where he's had chances. You wouldn't probably want anyone else there, because he can do those things. But he gets a lot of chances with the creative play that we get balls through. The 2 crosses from Dennis were fantastic. He's putting great balls into the box there. And any good striker sort of thrives on those deliveries and those through balls. So, I'm sure he's happy. Getting his goals definitely makes him happy.
Yeah, and I guess it helps as well when defenders just bounce off him. It just seems like, with his physicality, he's low to the ground, but he's got that, that sense. I remember I called the Lang Warren game against you guys a few weeks ago, and I thought, he's built like a rugby player in that sense that, players will run at him and he just can stand his ground and they just bounce, and he can get into the game sort of dropping in. Is that sort of something you guys look to do? Trying to get him to drop in, play more as that sort of false 9-ish sort of role in terms of getting other guys to the game?
Yeah, look, we set certain parameters that are less sort of up to interpretation when we don't have the ball. He has a defensive responsibility the same as anybody else. But when we do get the ball, we do want him to be creative. We do want him to feel like he has the freedom to move into areas where he can affect the game. And sometimes that's if teams are deep, he comes in and joins in, and like we said, he can score from distance. So if you let him float into those areas, he can cause a problem. you know, he can put through balls, and we've got other players who can score. So, you know, he works well with those, and if teams are high, he's quite happy to run in behind because he is quick. And like you said, not only is he quick, when he gets a yard, trying to knock him off the ball is extremely different. He's a very solid boy, very powerful. So, you know, he has the capability of doing both things. So for us, it's just making sure he stays in those good areas. He doesn't get despondent if it's not coming. And when he does that, he's very difficult to play against.
Yeah, and I guess going back to last Tuesday, the win against Dandy City, an amazing victory, you know, beating a side from a tier above in the FFA Cup, put you guys to the last round of qualifying before it becomes a nationwide tournament. I guess, how did you see it, Paul? I mean, you know, playing a team that sort of is above, but it felt as if you guys really took it to them and you were able to get the result at the end of the day. How did you see it from your lens?
I thought the team played, you know, relatively well and on chances created. We probably just shaded it, but it was an expansive game. It was a good experience for the ball. I think it gave us a little bit of a lift as well when you go to places like Dandenong, and not only do you beat, but you're competitive in those games. And I think over chances, we had the little issue probably about the last 15, 20 minutes. I think what's pleasing is that when we don't see, we've played the likes of Northcote where, although, you know, Chicky mentioned before that we try to be a possession-based side, but sides need to show different characters, and when they're up against the pump, you know, for that 5 or 10 minutes. Northcote were probably a very similar side to us in that they had as much possession of the ball that we had. So I think there's probably a developing maturity amongst the group to play in a different way, to defend. We had to defend quite stoically, if you like, for the last 10 or 15 minutes against Moreland City. We had to defend to a degree against Dandenong City, you know, the last 10 or 15. And I think there's certainly a growing maturity as to, you know, some of the younger boys being able to see games out for the last 10 or 15 minutes and making the right decisions on the park. You know, which is pleasing. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, getting that sort of win, you know, the confidence and the players must have felt that sense of, you know, belief really after coming away. You said just being competitive was almost, you know, good enough, but winning as well must have been amazing for the boys after the game and sort of their feeling in themselves.
Yeah, I think it was good for the whole club.
Yeah.
For us to be in this situation. Obviously, there's a point in year coming down, so it's nice to sort of have some talk about the club. And the Cup definitely does that. The Cup gives you, you know, gives some publicity, puts eyes, gets people talking about, which is great. I think the players enjoy that too. Gives them, you know, makes notice of what they're doing. In terms of Dandy City, obviously we knew Mickey had just taken over. He hadn't had a lot of time to work with them. He just taken over and the break. So we weren't really sure what to expect. So it was just focus on ourselves a little bit. But look, again, they good side. They created some chances, worked hard. You know, and then obviously after us, they've gone and beat Heidelberg.
Yeah.
So that made us feel even better.
Almost like the perfect tune-up, you know, sort of gave them a bit of a warm-up and you got the result, and now they go out and beat Heidelberg. Not too bad.
Yeah, so more teams want to play us then.
Yeah.
And go and play Heidelberg after.
No, for sure. Let's take a break, guys. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about both your careers in playing and coaching, and get the listeners to get a little bit to know about the both of you. So we're back in just a second here on Paco Radio on FNR.
With the right qualification, there's no telling where your career could take you.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
The moon might be a bit of a stretch, but whether you are looking to progress your existing career, start a new one, rejoin the workforce, or get better at a hobby, training.com.au is here to help. At training.com.au, you can answer a couple of simple questions and instantly find out what courses are available for you. It costs nothing, and it could change your life.
The Eagle has landed.
Find your future right now at training.com.au.
Are you looking to raise money for your community club or charitable organisation? Club Fundraising is an Australian family-run business, and we pride ourselves in creating partnerships with clubs, helping build stronger communities. Our free online platform provides everything you need for a successful campaign. With a step-by-step interface and best-in-class payment options, Club Fundraising makes it easy for clubs and contributors alike. Revolutionise the way you fundraise. Start your free campaign today. Head to clubfundraising.com.au. That's clubfundraising.com.au.
We are more than engineers. We are more than project managers. We are more than surveyors. We are more than infrastructure specialists. We are more than planners. So, who are we? We are problem solvers, providing the highest quality service and results. We are a team of skilled professionals, focused on customer needs and outcomes. We are 23 years of industry experience, adhering to the highest safety standards. We are Melbourne, and we are right across Victoria. We are the Lanco Group, your business partner for engineering solutions. Lanco Group. We are more than you realise, and we are ready to partner with you.
Are you looking to change your destiny in life? Be your own boss? Start your own business? If you are, you need people who understand your needs and are committed to helping you make it happen. At DKP & Co Chartered Accountants, we are more than just accountants. We are business advisors, taxation consultants, and strategists that specialise in setting up businesses. We understand the client and give them the very best customised advice and strategies to achieve their goals. Visit our website dkpco.com.au or give us a call today on 03 9023 9370. Fast, proactive, personal. That's DKP & Co Chartered Accountants.
Buying your electricity from the big energy companies is now the most expensive way to power your home. In fact, the average electricity bill in Australia has more than doubled in the last 15 years. But not for the ones who went solar. Unlike your electricity bill, the power of solar has actually come down, and there's also government rebates available. So what are you waiting for? Join the 2 million households already saving hundreds of dollars every year. See how much your roof could be making you at solarpowerco.com.au. Go solar and get $500 cash back with the Solar Power Co, Australia's most trusted solar brand. solarpowerco.com.au.
You're listening to Paco Radio, brought to you by Senol on FNR, Football Nation Radio.
Welcome back to Paco Radio here on FNR Football Nation Radio. Nick Tabano here today. We've got senior head coach David Chick and we've also got the assistant Paul Harris. Brought to you by Senol today. Proud sponsor. You can see the lovely jerseys back there that were brought in a little bit earlier by Athena. Thank you very much for that. We spoke before. If you've missed any of it, make sure you go back and give it a listen later on in the podcast. A little bit about the season so far, more just about the recent sort of excitement around the senior team at the moment. But now we're going to get to know a bit about you two and your sort of careers in playing and coaching and everything else. So let's start off with yourself, David. Your playing and coaching career. Take us through that.
Mine will definitely be quicker than Harold's. So if we start with mine, then look there. Yeah, look, I started off like everyone, young kid. I grew up in Norwich.
Yep.
That's where I'm from. So I was lucky I joined the club there when I was sort of 9, 10. I think I got rejected the first time and then got in sort of the second time and was with them all the way till I was 20.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, look, some really great memories at the club, the fantastic club. Got to do some amazing things, play against some amazing players, playing many different countries on tours and in tournaments and, managed to represent England as a youth player just once, but still got there once, which was great. Yeah, 15th levels. So, yeah, and, that was sort of the journey that made me fall in love with football. And then sort of wasn't good enough for the Premier League. So came out of there when Norwich got promoted when Nigel Worthington was the manager. A little unsure what to do, whether I was going to play or what, and had a couple of non-league teams, played at Cambridge United for a little while. And I think sort of around 24, I'd gone for a professional contract at Peterborough and it got offered and then got taken away when the manager changed. And that was kind of me going, well, okay, maybe I'm not going to get to where I want to be. And I took a coaching job back at Norwich, which is probably one of the best things I ever did, if I'm honest. So I went and played part-time, Conference South, Conference North, I think it's Tier 5, 6 now in England. And started my coaching journey. A couple of years later, came over here to play for Hume City. I had a knee injury, missed most of the year, and I had a friend playing here who said, the years here were sort of February. onwards. So where in England, I was already missed half the season. So, thought I'd come here for the 1 year, and like a lot of guys that come here, you end up staying.
Yep.
Came and played the year with Hume, which was fantastic. Again, went to Bentley, but hurt my knee again, and unfortunately that was the end of it at about 27.
Yeah.
So again, back into coaching, which again seems, it's good. It keeps you in the game. It keeps you relevant to what you love to do. That went real quick, real fast. But it's probably given me a little bit of a head start in the coaching game, finishing a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
And then Hume gave me a coaching job there, which is really good of him. Started in the 16s. And then into the 21s, and that's where obviously I met Zocchi, who will be playing in the Cup. He was in the first team set up there and had a little spell with Dean Hennessy in the first team set up. Had a few little games in charge, which was my first ever sort of experience there, so I'm thankful for them for giving me the opportunity at such a young age. Left there at the end of the season to go with Northcote. Had a tough year with Eric, learnt a lot, and then off to Paco. And halfway through the season, got offered to do the rest of the season with the seniors. Again, a great opportunity for a young person. Very lucky to be in that situation and have the support of the people there to do it. And that's where I am now. So
quite the journey.
Yeah, I guess it seems like it's gone quick. It seems like, not too much happened, but when you put it all down like that, yes, a little bit up and down.
Yeah, yourself, Paul?
You don't have to do that much detail.
No, how long have we got?
As long as you want.
Yeah, I came to Australia through the back door, really, as just on a one-way flight ticket with a team called Caulfield City Ethnikos. And it was just like a word-of-mouth thing. And I suppose football in Australia in the 70s and the 80s, a lot of British players were playing, not quite good enough to make professionally over there, but were playing a decent level of, non-league, Southern League, Conference League, that kind of league. So it opened up an opportunity. When somebody says to you that we'll pay your flight out and you can come out and play football in Australia, and we heard of all these beautiful things, so it was, it was a no-brainer, really. But one of the guys that was instrumental in getting me out was Davey Brooks, and he's the music man. And he is pretty much the glue, or he was the social glue to what was going on back in the late 80s. He still is. He's 67 going on 17 basically now. But at that time you always had a small, you always had two or three Brits that were playing within the clubs, and socially it was a different type of feel as well. That everybody drank together, and you had, say, Mark Wilson that was at St Albans with the Croatian guys. You had a couple of us guys with the Greeks. You had the Poms at Thomastown, and that was how it was in those days. So socially it was that. So how long have I got? No. So I played Southern League back home. I came out on a one-way flight. Caulfield were very, very good to me. We were only on sporting visa at the time. We weren't supposed to work, but a lot of us did because, again, the restrictions weren't like they are now. Probably around about 1989, you had Willie Raines, Phil Stobbins, Andy O'Dell was probably the last batch before they tightened up the regulations. So a lot of people came, very, very good players came out. And I'm not only talking about British players, but European players, the likes of Kuprasek that came out for Croatia and so forth. So, and that was a way to get in. And then you try and work on your permanent residence after that. So anything was better than a council house back in Birmingham, So I came to Caulfield. At time, I actually was fortunate enough to win a Rothmans medal at the time. And then I went to Northcote, had 2 years at Northcote with Roy McLaren, who was the coach there, and Jimmy Porrigolius. And then I went to Morwell under Bob McLaughlin and had the inaugural year of the NSL at Morwell. But I was 32 years of age at that time. So, and talking about Zocchi was in that Morwell side. You had Steve Mortone, John Waddell, Claudia Canosa, Sash Besnowski, these kind of 80 Pender, so he had a good basic side. And then came back to Altona Magic because I was too old, and they said, I had a phone call on the Saturday morning before we were playing Marconi and said, see you later.
Oh, wow.
But I won't get into it. But that was how it was in those days. And had 3 very good years at Altona Magic under the guise of, that's when I got to know Ian Dobson. And Dubbo came in about year 2, I think, and and won the title in '95 with Altona. And again, there were some very, very good players there at Altona. You had, Robbie Trajkowski, Dan McGrath, Tom Markowski, John Markowski came on loan with us, Goran Lozanovsky, Henry Kudelowski, all the skis there, that came on and had bigger and better careers. So the Iceman, and so Altona then went on to have 3 years of success with under Gary Cole and Ian Dobson again. And I was living in Eltham at the time, and I was 35, and I just went and played local. I think I ended up playing until I was about 45 with Banyule then. And then coaching was really, I think when you're a player, you always find your own level. Or, coaches, you always get to know what level you're worthy at, whether it's commitment or so forth. But in coaching, it's a little bit of a different feel. And it's a little bit like standing around the swimming pool and dipping your toes in, and people have bad experiences and it puts them off. Or people have good experiences, and go on from there. So so I had coaching careers at helping Ian Dobson at Green Gully, helping Peter Ollerton at Whittlesey at Heidelberg, and then I had 6 years at Eltham Redbacks from State League 5. So I've seen that from the bottom down, and then. I felt it was time to leave Eltham. The players needed something a little bit fresh, and through word of mouth, Dean Hennessy, who's a very good friend, rang me up and said, "Chicky, who I knew, needs somebody to keep control of him at Pasco Val. A father-like figure." So I think that was how I came into it, and the relationships work very, very well. And Chicky has got some very, very good people behind him. Quinny does a fantastic job with he puts in all the work, if I'm totally honest, the video analysis and so forth. He's got a young guy, Nick Cunningham, that helps with some of the sports science, and Floppy as well, who does all the running drills. So he's well supported in what he tries to do, but he does a very, very good job himself. Yeah.
There you go. I mean, Eltham Redbacks, they've come all the way up there. What, State League 1 now?
Yeah, we went from 5 to 1.
Got the new facilities out there.
And they're a club on the up. Very, very good club. They've got very, very good people behind them. Ivan does a great job there, and as I say, they're having a good year under Joe Montemuro. Sorry, not Joe.
Montemuro.
But he's doing a very good job there as well, and I think they're third or fourth in the league there. So the juniors are now in the NPL, the 13 to 16 boys, and it's got a lot of things going for it, both from a geographic, from a facility viewpoint, and it's a very, very good culture at Eltham as well.
Well, I remember from even just playing against them, always a tough place to go play. All the time. That the synthetic pitch down there was always a really, really tough place to play. What's the working relationship like, guys, between the two of you? Assistant to senior coach. I mean, you guys have been now together, 2 years now, or first full season now?
It seems a lot longer.
Yeah.
No, it's really good. So obviously, when I got the job, it was who you can have as your assistant. Like I said, I'd only had a short spell coaching before, 10, 11 games, which I didn't actually have an assistant then at the point. And names were coming up left, right, and centre, and I wanted somebody who knew a lot more than me. Somebody who'd sat on the dugout a lot more, someone who'd won things, someone who'd been at different levels and was good with people. And I spoke to quite a few people, and nothing seemed to just quite fit. And then obviously Dean Hennessy, we both know, mentioned Harold, because obviously said Harold was leaving where he was, and it just fitted perfectly, really. Harold's, like I say, got a wealth of experience. He's seen more games than the rest of the staff put together. And that really comes to light in the game days and when we're training. He's very good at keeping control of me, as he says. Very good at reminding me that it's just a bit of football now and then. So yeah, look, I think we complement each other well, and like Al said, it's not just us. There's some real good people there working very, very hard to add all their little expertise to make the coaching group as strong as possible.
So did you guys both have ambitions to go into coaching at some point, I guess during your playing careers, or was it something that just sort of came about, through your playing careers?
I kind of fell into it, and I don't have much of a life outside football, to be honest. I don't do anything else. I don't play golf or whatever. And I think as well is that when you've come out as a player and even being given a one-way flight, for somebody to give you the airfare to fly the other side of the world and play, you kind of like have this, I don't know, some people not having reached a professional level kind of thrive on that. It's a given opportunity. And I think through word of mouth as well, you kind of like fall into it. And there's a very, very close soccer fraternity. Although I'm finding now, being older, I'm not overly familiar with the NPL. I'm just finding my feet with the NPL. And, of course, the people I know now are retired or they're well into their 80s, 90s. So, but having said that, you kind of like still need it, if you like. I don't know how else to describe it. And without it, you think, well, what the bloody hell would I do?
Yeah.
Without being
involved
in some way, shape or form. And I think that's where I've really enjoyed the time with Chicky. I mean, I get on well with him personally. This is probably the first time I've got a word in edgeways.
You just need to listen, Harold.
Yeah.
All right, then nod.
But and I've learned. I suppose the biggest thing for me is I've learnt the new generational kind of way of doing things. Like a GPS. I didn't know what a GPS was before I went to Pasco Vale. I thought it was something you found on the back of a Melwayers. But this is the kind of thing. So it's a whole new philosophy. But by the same token, I don't think you can. You need that little bit of old school as well to bring you back into check. So it's a good balance.
Fantastic. What about you, David? Was that always something that you thought, when you retired, that was something you wanted to do?
Look, I had a coach when I was in my youth team days at Norwich, Aidy. It was a big influence on me. He ended up being the England under-21 coach. And just seeing him, the way he worked with players, his enthusiasm for the game, and he wasn't that old either. I think he finished around 31. And he's gone on to some amazing. He coached at Watford in the Premier League and things like that. And just the relationship I had with him, I was a bit of a ratty kid, in trouble a lot, and he really helped me. So the idea of helping other young players, I really liked. I think it just was a bit of a shock because, I stopped so early. I've had 6 knee operations. I always thought I'd play, like Al said, I think he played till he's 45. I always thought I'd get to, early, mid, late 30s, I never wanted to stop playing. So when that sort of came smack bang and the doctor's saying, look, we can't keep putting things back together.
Yeah.
Do you want to be able to walk when you're older? You have to change. And I definitely wasn't done with the game. I love the dressing room. I love the banter with the boys. And like Harold said, when it's been a part of your life for so long and you don't do it, it's like, well, what else am I going to do? And we sort of laugh about it, but it's true. It's what you think about. It's what you want to do. I enjoy game day. I enjoy the excitement. I enjoy the emotion of the game, whether it's sad or what job can you have where, you laugh and cry. Normally people go to work and you go home, right?
Yeah.
So I kind of like that competition. I like the people. So yeah, it was kind of, well, you say goodbye or you take the next step, and the next step naturally was to coach. And that started off with younger kids. And then the natural progression here is you sort of go up the chain a little bit. And then before you know it, you're working with senior players. Sometimes you're working with players older than yourself. Well, I have been. So it's, no one's older than Harold. So it was more. So you kind of, like Harold said, I think you fall into it because you don't want to leave the game.
Yeah. I mean, just about 6 knees. As a player, how does that weigh on you mentally? I mean, 1 knee's enough, for some players that they just go, that's it. But 6,
Well, it's 6 surgeries. So it was 2 ACLs, 2 other bits. And then, there was some issues with a couple of the operations. And I probably didn't do the right things. I rushed back a couple of times. I probably didn't look after myself as well as I should have done, or how I'd expect my players to look after themselves. And obviously sports science, what you do, you're fully aware of the consequences if you don't look after yourself. And like I said, for me it was, just want to play, so I get out there as early as I could, and it doesn't work like that. So, you know, like most people say, if you had your time again, I'd probably do things a little bit differently. I'd look after myself better, and I probably wouldn't have been in that situation. So, you know, I this is great. Even when I first had my first coaching, I always thought, oh, maybe I'll play again at some point.
Yeah.
You know, because, but, you know, you get the doctor's advice, and like I said, I want to coach, and to coach, I've got to be on my feet. You've got to be able to demo, which is fine. And, you know, you get fed up of being in pain. You get fed up with the disappointment. We've got a young lad at our team who's had 2 knees, and he's done back-to-back, and he's done the journey back, and he's doing fantastic. Ali, he is back. He's playing. And watching him go through that journey, you know, I can relate, I think. I feel sorry for players when they're injured. I think that's why we work so hard with the sports science. We work so hard with how we look after them and their training loads to keep them. We generally do care about them. And, you know, you don't want to see anyone go through that. So, yeah, it is what it is. It happened. You know, everyone knows somebody. So I was just that person.
Yeah. I mean, going right back for you guys when you first obviously got into football, going way back, how did you both fall in love with the game? You know, I mean, where did it start for you guys? You know, is there a certain moment, you know, going to a game or seeing it on, you know, TV or whatever else that sort of sprung with you and said, I want to do that?
My father took me to Molyneux. He was a Wolves supporter. He took me to see Liverpool play. September 1968 it was, and that was the first live game that I'd actually gone to watch, and the intention was for me to follow Wolves, because we're from the Midlands, but I said followed Liverpool. Liverpool won. Actually, there was a connection there because Alan Evans actually scored 2 goals in that game. I think Roger Hunt got 2, and they had a winger called Phil Thompson, not Peter Thompson, but Phil Thompson, who was in the 66 England World Cup squad. And they won quite convincingly. This was the days of Ian St John and Emlyn Hughes. I think was just starting out, Tommy Smith and Chris Lawler, and so I became a Liverpool supporter ever since, which is not what you want to be, you know. And they had bad times through that time, but you know, I think that was my first recollection of seeing a game live, and when you go through the turnstiles, I think it's just this adrenaline buzz before the game that you get with all the anticipation, and then you go, and the old terracing used to, before you had sit down seats and so forth, or the posh people used to sit in the sit down seats, you had terracing, you would see that expansive green grass and the 2 white nets, and it was just a magical kind of thing, you know.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yourself, David?
Yeah, look, my dad played at a fairly decent level.
Yeah.
And my uncle was a coach.
Oh, wow.
So I had no choice, basically, is what I'm saying. But no, look, same as everybody. I think my friends were playing at school, so we started playing, and my dad took me down to the local club, which was a walk down, and we started playing. My dad ended up being the coach, which is we still laugh about to this day. And yeah, I'd only been playing a year or so, maybe 2 years, and the usual thing at that point, you know, scouts come around and stuff like that, and I'd had a trial at Norwich, I hadn't got in, and that kind of sort of sparked that determination of, you know, I'm close, but I'm not quite good enough, and I wanted to go. And my dad had a friend called Donny Pye, lovely man, and he's sort of probably the first time you've ever heard of one-on-one coaching. So I'm 10, and I know it's quite common for young players now. I do a little bit with some one-on-ones with players yourself to work on some bits, younger players, and I'd had some stuff with him, and it just sort of improved me no end. And I went to the next one, and I got in. And then once you're sort of in that system there, you know, like it's an amazing system. You know, you're on a training ground with 9 pitches, and you're going off to play Chelsea and things like that. You're in straight away. Yeah. And I think kids in overseas and in England and stuff like that, you get that opportunity at a really young age, which you don't tend to get here till a little bit later. And once you start doing that, you never want to stop.
Yeah.
So yeah, that kind of, before I knew it, I've gone from my friends are playing, can I play, to you're on a bus going here, and
playing Premier League opposition.
And some you're playing players that have played in World Cups and stuff like that now. You know, I look through some of the players that think, well, I played against him. Wondering why they did a bit better, but they, it happens quick, I guess.
Have you? But I think overseas football is everything. Really.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at, say, here, you've got a clearly defined. I mean, the climate makes a difference. You've got footy or rugby league or rugby for 6 months a year, and then cricket for 6 months a year. Whereas cricket really is more of a in the UK or in the UK, it's more for the affluent kind of people, and it's more an afterthought. You have to be quite, it's more a minority sport. So football goes on for 10 months, and then there's a 6-week break, and it's football again. Over here, you tend to, you've got beaches, you've got more of an affluent society, I think, in general, and you can kind of, you might be into equestrian, or you might be into clay pigeon shooting or whatever.
Yeah.
But you've got perhaps the money there to afford to have a wider expanse of.
Yeah,
I think
sporting.
I don't know anyone who didn't play. When I think about
it was
all my friends
that was
at some level, it was you got a ball, you went to the park, it was snowing, it didn't matter, and you just played.
Yeah,
and you came home full of mud and had to take your clothes outside, and that was it. So kids these days have got so many options.
Yeah,
we think, he's got basketball this week, and then baseball over here, and I'm doing swimming, and it was either play football or I could box. Yeah, and I didn't want to get hit. So, that was it.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, for most people, before they turn about 15, they're playing two sports. You hear two sport athletes all the time. Winter, it's this. Summer, it's that. Or they do both at the same time, and they're trying to juggle both, and they get to a point they have to choose. I mean, it's so different over in the UK. I mean, hearing that for us, it's like, wow, that's almost foreign, or very foreign to us.
We weren't allowed to play another sport. So once you joined there at 10, that was
it.
You can't play another sport in case you get hurt. But like you said, you didn't need to, because it would go on. You were there the whole time. I think we had 4 weeks off. You had maybe a week or so at Christmas, and as you get older, you then played through Christmas. I remember cleaning boots on Christmas Day. Mum and Dad are eating them, scrubbing first team players' boots. So you never really did anything else because you were there the whole time.
So do you both have sort of a memory where you came up against someone in your playing days that was sort of someone that was that, you said that you've played against guys that have gone to World Cups, you've both played at the big level. I mean, there's sort of been that moment where you go, oh my God, like that guy's he's something,
I played against Alan Smith actually when he was at Alvechurch before. I think Leicester signed him after Lineker went, and Alan Smith was about my age. I think actually he's a year or so younger, because he actually does commentary on but he was something a little bit different. And he would have been about 18 or 19 there. So Alan Smith, the old Arsenal forward, was something a little bit of quality. Best player that I've seen out here or play against, John Markowski was a very, very good player. I'd put him right up there, and going back to the Hellas team of around about 92, when you had Kombutsianis, actually Caulfield produced quite a few good players, Ange Goodsalis, Harry Mikel, Kombutsianis, Kompapis was there for a while, Nick Deligianis, so they were a good feeder club actually for some of the other clubs. But you had Trimboli, you had Mickey Peterson, Paul Wade at the time was probably Muscat before he went overseas, was there playing right back, Mehmet Jurakovic. And I think Paul Wade was probably pound for pound a player that got as much out of every sinew as of his ability-wise that he could possibly get. And he was a fantastic player. Awatifi, and they all had a little bit of, dare I say, nastiness to them. The Under Master of this world, all those kind of like players all had that little bit that they could dig. Gary McDowell, these kind of players. So was that they have like sort of a certain aura about them when you came up against them and you went, oh my goodness, like these guys have something about them that made you sort of notice it? I think it just made you get rid of the ball a bit quicker than what you normally would. Do you know what I mean? Because you didn't want to get clattered. And my son would always say to me, "Oh, you didn't have tricks in your you weren't really, you didn't really want to have 2 or 3 joggles of the ball because somebody would come over the top." So, but of course the game was a lot different then, and the athleticism wasn't there. The NSL players weren't full time. They were still training 3 nights a week after work. But there was that. Certainly, the game was a lot more physical in those days, and you could get away with it.
Yeah, now there's eyes everywhere. You can't get away with anything yourself. I mean,
in the youth team days at Norwich, obviously we played a lot of the Premier League clubs, and that David Bentley, he was at Arsenal. He was a very special player. He played like a second striker. You couldn't get the ball off him. Touch, technique. Everyone was like, "This is the next Bergkamp."
Yeah.
And he was a very special young player. And Ashley Young was at Watford. Again, he was quite a small, slight player, but tricky, and had a change of pace, played in a team a lot. One of the better ones, Glenn Johnson. Glenn Johnson was at West Ham, and he was classy, pace, strong, could play, and you kind of knew these guys are going to be first team players. They're a cut above the rest. They're going to be in these first teams playing Premier League football sooner or later. They were just better than everyone else. And then I went to the England camp, and Rooney was there.
Oh, wow.
I didn't play with him. I played in the Ireland game. I think he played in the Wales and Scotland game. And, then you look, I think it was 4 or 5 months later, he's already playing for Everton in the first team. And he was just powerful, strong. He didn't talk much, quiet, didn't say anything. And there's a lot of cocky kids there, as you can imagine, But he was just built differently, just solid. He could kind of go round you, and if he couldn't go round you, he'd just go through you. Maybe a bit like the old school about him. You know what I mean? He had that sort of stuff. And then as I got into sort of Norwich's training with the first team, not playing, there was sort of Peter Crouch was there.
Oh, wow.
He was there at the time. Darren Huckabee was another big player there at the time, and Rob Green, the goalkeeper. They're sort of the ones that come to mind that you just sort of, these are they're there, and you're sort of looking around going, what am I doing here?
For sure.
The squads were bigger then, so you could sneak in when there was 35 of you.
Yeah. I mean, before we go to a break, David, I mean, you're still a very young coach. Is there a final ambition for yourself that one day you want to get to in terms of your coaching? Like, is there a certain level, or is this sort of, where you would like to stay more at the community level, or is there a different ambition?
I think like it's a tough question. I've thought about it a bit, and every time you sort of feel a little bit differently about it. I'd like to coach as high as I could possibly coach. Obviously, it's not straightforward. That you've got to get licenses and all these little bits and pieces, which you slowly work towards. And I think that puts a lot of people off because they're difficult to do. The expense, do you get the time off? How do you work around normal day life? And but look, I guess I'm in a position now where I'm young enough to, invest in those things and see where it ends up. And if it happens, great. I'd be really happy. You'll probably get to a point where family and other parts of life come in, and you go, well, okay, maybe I've missed the boat. Same as you did as a player. I got to a certain age, well, I'm not going to be at the level I want to be. So you take that sort of step back, and you're happy where you are. So, look, I'd like to be as high as I could possibly go. And just see what happens, I guess.
Yeah, take it as it comes, I guess.
That's all you can do.
Yeah, no, for sure. Let's take a quick break, guys. When we come back, we'll have a look ahead to the weekend, and hopefully we can get ourselves another win on the weekend, shall we?
Be nice.
Are you looking to change your destiny in life? Be your own boss? Start your own business? If you are, you need people who understand your needs and are committed to helping you make it happen. At DKP & Co Chartered Accountants, we are more than just accountants. We are business advisors, taxation consultants, and strategists that specialise in setting up businesses. We understand the client and give them the very best customised advice and strategies to achieve their goals. Visit our website, dkpco.com.au, or give us a call today on 03 9023 9370. Fast, proactive, personal. That's DKP & Co Chartered Accountants.
Buying your electricity from the big energy companies is now the most expensive way to power your home. In fact, the average electricity bill in Australia has more than doubled in the last 15 years. But not for the ones who went solar. Unlike your electricity bill, the power of solar has actually come down, and there's also government rebates available. So what are you waiting for? Join the 2 million households already saving hundreds of dollars every year. See how much your roof could be making you at solarpowerco.com.au. Go solar and get $500 cash back with the Solar Power Co, Australia's most trusted solar brand. solarpowerco.com.au. Buying your electricity from the big energy companies is now the most expensive way to power your home. In fact, the average electricity bill in Australia has more than doubled in the last 15 years. But not for the ones who went solar. Unlike your electricity bill, the power of solar has actually come down, and there's also government rebates available. So what are you waiting for? Join the 2 million households already saving hundreds of dollars every year. See how much your roof could be making you at solarpowerco.com.au. Go solar and get $500 cash back with the Solar Power Co, Australia's most trusted solar brand. solarpowerco.com.au.
Are you looking to change your destiny in life? Be your own boss? Start your own business? If you need people who understand your needs and are committed to helping you make it happen. At DKP & Co Chartered Accountants, we are more than just accountants. We are business advisors, taxation consultants, and strategists that specialise in setting up businesses. We understand the client and give them the very best customised advice and strategies to achieve their goals. Visit our website, dkpco.com.au, or give us a call today on 03 9023 9370. Fast, proactive, personal. That's DKP & Co Chartered Accountants.
You're listening to Paco Radio, brought to you by Senol on FNR, Football Nation Radio.
Welcome back to Paco Radio here on FNR Football Nation Radio, brought to you by Senol. Just wrapping up the show now, guys. Been a lot of fun, having you guys in here today. A lot of great insights, I guess, to the club and I guess into yourselves and your both your careers. Let's have a look to the weekend. But before we get to that, just we asked our guests every time. We had Lou on a couple of weeks ago. We had Nick Georgopoulos and we also had Christian on last week as well, the Christian Sidsev on as well. And we always ask, what Pascoe Vale means to them, in terms of their sort of connection to the club and everything else. Floor's yours, I guess. What does Pascoe Vale mean to you guys in the time that you've been there?
Well, I haven't been there that long, and it's been a COVID impacted.
Yeah.
Well, Pascoe Vale always had a very, very good reputation. They were full of good people. In the times, I go back to Banyule, playing against them in the old State League 2 and 3, and I knew of Joe Catalano outside the game, and there were good people there. There was a good feel about the club. Mm. You get a little bit of a fuzzy feeling inside. So when the opportunity came to join Pascoe Vale, it was something that I didn't have to think of twice really. So it's just a good feel. There's a good set of lads down there. It's a very, very environment, and I think Chicky's made some very big steps there, shall we say? He did promise to buy me chicken parmigiano if I said nice things about it. But he's a very, very switched on guy, and it's a good feel. There's a good balance about the club, let's just hope it continues.
Yeah.
But as I said to him before, take it 1 week at a time. Don't get ahead of yourself, and just pull the rails back in a bit, Yeah, so
no, for sure. Self?
Yeah, look, it's got a bit of a family feel to it.
Yeah.
And obviously mine and Harold's family's mostly overseas, right? So, I go there early. I have coffee with Jimmy. He makes me a coffee every time we talk. So it's got a social thing for me. It's friendship. It's, like you said, there's support there when you need it. There's great people around that treat you very, very well. So for me, it's sort of like a second family. It's a place where people very much look after each other. The playing group, there's some players that have been there, like Yui's been there sort of 10 years. Teller's been there 10 years. That doesn't happen if the place isn't a good place. It's very hard to find players that have been there that amount of time. And there's others now who are sort of 23, 24. They've been there 3 or 4 years already. It's very easy for players to move clubs. So I think everyone feels that. So for me, it's a bit of an extended family.
Yeah.
And they've been very kind to me. They've been very supportive. They put a lot of faith in me, being a young coach with no real history in terms of coaching. So, I feel like we feel, that we have to give back in that and do our part. So, that's what it means to me anyway.
Yeah. All right, well, we've got a couple more seconds before we have to wrap up. We've got Avenger Radio, the Avondale Club show, kicking off in just a bit. Very quickly, GV Suns this weekend and Avondale on Tuesday in the FFA Cup. 2 massive games. I guess, what's the feeling heading into those two?
Look, again, it sounds very, very cliched. Goulburn Valley will be a very, very difficult game. Very difficult, a very different side. Very well organised. It's a trip up there, again. It's a challenge of, spending 2.5, 3 hours in the car. All these little things that make a difference. Look, as I say, it's just I know it sounds cliche, but just take one step at a time. It's no good thinking about this, what you're going to be doing next Wednesday or next Thursday, next week. Let's just get through. the Saturday and the
Yeah.
Tuesday game
And then-
first.
yeah.
Avondale's a bonus. We'll just. I think we'll go just enjoy it, and having come this far in the competition, it's been good for the club.
Whatever happens, happens.
Yes, yeah, will tell me off if I talk about Avondale before, so I'll get in trouble. Look,
Yeah.
again, it's a league game. We go out with the intent to win every game, and we believe we can do that if we do everything right. So we've had a great week on the park. We'll go there, do exactly what we always do. We'll go and play for 3 points, and do our best. Like they beat us last game, so there's a little bit of redemption there. We get a chance to go and set that right. So. We'll go down there and give everything we've got, and then it's a quick turnaround. And like Howard said, we've not got much to lose with Avondale. They're a great side, top of the league, in the league above. We're the underdog. The club's always been good when they're the underdog, so we'll just go and give everything we've got, and we'll see where that takes us.
And one last one we just said before we came back on, England tonight. You're both very much going to be up and about watching that. You guys confident? I mean, they're playing Germany. We know what happens usually when England play
I
Germany.
think we'll be all right unless we go to pens.
Yeah. I go back to 66, and look, we'll wait and see. It's a difficult one to pick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens, I guess. Hopefully this time around.
I wasn't very confident.
You
just
never know when it comes to England.
We've been burned before.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, well, we'll see. It usually is heartbreak with this sort of stage of the tournament, but maybe things will change. Who knows? Might be a 2018 Magic still lingering around that might see, because the draw's opened up.
I think whoever gets through this has got a great pathway to the final. So it's a big game. It's a bit of a derby, I guess. You know, like England v Germany. So the advantage of being at Wembley. I think I saw a stat that they never lost a competitive match at Wembley in a tournament. So obviously, I don't want to be bringing that up too much. But it's nice. They haven't had to travel. They're at home. So if we're not going to do it now, then when are we? So give it a go.
David, Paul, thank you. Good luck for the weekend. Good luck for Tuesday as well. Thank you very much for joining us. If you've missed any of it, for those listening at home, head over to our podcast platforms and catch up with the full show. For myself, Nick Tabano, it's goodbye for now.
You're listening to Paco Radio, brought to you by Senol on FNR, Football Nation Radio.